Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Joshua Suliruka here, your host of the Impact Podcast Show. And firstly, I want to say thank you to everyone out there that is listening through this episode, either through Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. And if you guys are listening on here, make sure you guys jump onto our social media page, more specifically Instagram, and you guys can follow us through there. And we do have other platforms such as YouTube, and we have Twitter and Facebook, but our main platform is Instagram. So if you guys want any more updates or information, by all means tune into that. And also I want to thank everyone out there that is watching this podcast video through our YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like this video. If you guys have received some values, comment your thoughts. When we're going through the podcast, if you guys got any questions or any thoughts or anything that you relate to, please put it down in the comments down below. And most importantly, guys, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you click on that bell button for the latest updates to our next video. And so that's the first thing I wanted to kind of share. But the second thing I do want to share is something that I do all the time. And I would like to just state our mission. And our mission is simple. And our mission is to focus on impacting the one. So guys, if you guys have been impacted by this podcast, whether you've received some value or you relate to the special guest that we have on the other side of this call, I encourage you guys to share this to someone else. Someone else can possibly benefit from, the stories or the values that have been received through this podcast. So remember, guys, it will only take one person to change someone's life, and that possibly can be you. And so, yeah, guys, I wanted to just share that specifically before we get into this show. But other than that, guys, that is all done. All those Irans or Irans is all kind of pushed away. Guys, I want to get straight into introducing our next special guest on the Impact Podcast Show. Now, there's actually a funny story as to the first time I actually met this dude. And, the first time I bumped into him was like, we ended up doing a toilet giveaway, like a toilet paper giveaway a couple months ago. And funny enough, there was only I think 3 or 4 people that actually jumped on the giveaway. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And obviously at the time, at the time of this of this recording, we're actually going through a COVID pandemic. So, when it came to the time of meeting our special guest on the other side, toilet paper was like gold. It was like gold to everyone. It was something that everyone wanted to get in terms of toilet paper. So I ended up doing that. This person ended up receiving it, and funny enough, he ended up finishing his PT training session, and then it was only around, I'm pretty sure it was around the corner from my place, and then he just came through, and I just met him randomly. And then I didn't realize how much of an impact it would have made on me, let alone on him. But yeah, we got this some sort of kind of relatability. There's something inside of him that I resonate with, and I know that there's something inside of me that he resonates with. But guys, I want to explain to you guys quickly on what he does. Some of the things that he's a part of. He's currently a trainer, and he works at Plus Fitness. Yeah, Plus Fitness in Minto. Still strong over there. He also runs his own business in terms of personal training called Journey 2. And funny enough, he actually runs his own podcast, which is called 5 Minutes With, which I was actually on when it started. I don't know when it was, probably a couple months ago. Yeah, but yeah, I love the concept, man, and I guess we'll get more into that later on. But most importantly, fam, the main reason why I wanted to get him on board is because he actually loves adding value. This guy adds free content out there. He puts himself out there, and one thing for sure is that he's not he doesn't mind being himself, and he doesn't mind being real. So, guys, I would like to welcome you all on the Impact Podcast Show, my man, Kody Duncan.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Josh, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, man. Bro, I'm actually so grateful, bro. I'm so grateful to have you on here. Purely the reason why, and I'm going to share quickly as to why I'm so grateful to have you on board, bro. The reason why I'm so grateful for those that are listening is because Kody is actually what I would consider the success or the result of our mission. Our mission is simple, it's all about impacting the one. And I do believe that Kody has been impacted by the podcast. He's probably one of our one of our main followers that have been constantly listening to our our sessions that I've been having with a special guest. And I felt in my heart that, you know what, he's probably the greatest example to get him on here. You know, he understands, you know, the mission. He's all part of it, and he's been listening on constantly. And he shares our stuff, and I've been totally grateful for that. And I'm like, bro, I need to get this guy on to kind of share to people that, yeah, we actually are getting results. And this is actually the true side of it. You know, a person that was actually once listening to it is actually going to listen to himself on the podcast. So yeah, man, I'm truly grateful, bro. I'm truly grateful to have you on here.
No worries. It's a pleasure to be on, and I'm happy to tell a bit of my story and what I do.
Yeah, man, I'm keen, bro. I'm keen. But I guess, bro, just to get into the gist of things, you know, there may be people listening on here that may know you based on your followers and what you do in terms of training and your podcast. But there may be some people out there that may not know you. And so, bro, is there any chance that you could possibly share a bit about who you are?
Yeah. My name's Kody. I'm actually quite young, so I was listening to this show. I'm still I just turned 19 last month.
Come on, bro.
I run my own personal training business, Journey 2, and that's inside contracted into Plus Fitness Minto and a bit of mobile work, and doing a bit of work with a movie at the moment. And then I do my podcast, 5 Minutes With. I've been a bit slack with that lately, to be honest, not going to lie. It gets a bit tricky when you're balancing all the stuff. And then I have my Elasticity Kids, which a lot of people don't know. I have this business. So I do like childcare visits and do fitness programs 2 to 6. Do a bit of work with K to 12 during the school holidays, so a bit of the older kids, and then a bit of NDIS personal training, so disability and all that type of stuff. Yeah. That's kind of the front and the business side, and then, but I'm just I guess we should call it an average 19-year-old with big dreams. Work hard every day, and I guess I got a bit of not much about me, but that's train, you know, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, bro, I love that, man. I bro, just from the sounds of it, bro, it sounds like you've got a lot on your plate, which is, bro, honestly, which is totally fine, because I truly value that. You know, I truly value, you know, people wanting to hustle, you know, to go through. And bro, you're only 19 years old, man. Like there's people that are like 30, 40 or you know, 40 years old, and they can't handle the things that you're doing. And so, bro, quick question, man, like just, you know, out of the blue, bro, like how are you able to manage it? You know, how are you able to manage so much things? And even that, like, I know that you've got other things that you handle or that you manage that is outside of the business side. So, bro, how are you able to manage it?
I think like preparation side of things, like you kind of get the gist of it the more you do it. At first, it was a bit hard. Yeah. I think like the PT business, obviously the main source and everything, and you can kind of balance that. PT is quite flexible. It is very long hours. Like it looks all sunshine and gloom, but there is a lot of like early morning, late nights. Just over the last just actually during the COVID break, I'm probably grateful for the COVID. It actually slowed me down a bit and let me like kind of find my schedule and work better. But the PT stuff's practically early mornings to about midday, so you have a little bit of a day gap. During the day gap, I'd normally do like the childcare visits, but now because of COVID, they don't want external. So I'm just working on some background stuff for that until we're ready to launch again. And then the movie stuff I kind of do once a week, maybe once a fortnight, just to help them out, do a bit of pre-pump stuff. And then I think it's prioritizing whatever you prioritize. Like my podcast, I haven't posted an episode in 2 weeks. But during COVID, I was posting 1 episode a day. If you look at that, 7 a day is like, I think my first day, I had the idea on a Tuesday. The Wednesday, I filmed like 12 interviews. And then I got excited. I think I posted 3 in one day at one point just to get the stories down, the content. But you can, like, obviously there's, if I prioritize on the PT business, the podcast stuff is vice versa. Balance is probably like a big thing. I'm still learning work-life balance. I've got to enjoy my life a bit more. Yeah, man. But that's kind of part of the process of things, and you learn on the way. And like, I think the biggest thing is the calendar app on the phone. I use the calendar app, and like I used to not, and I used to just kind of wing it and be like, all right, I got this. I know I'm working 9 to 12, but now like every half an hour is booked specifically. I have to book an eating time nowadays. I feel like, I had to book an eating time. Like just before this, I was eating my protein muffins. I think, just whatever you prioritize kind of, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%, bro. Like, I truly believe in like priorities. That's something that I look into a lot, and even that when I'm talking to people, because, bro, I'm on the same bandwagon as you, man. I'm carrying a lot of things too, and people are always asking me, like, bro, how are you able to carry so much things? And, bro, you're totally on point, man. The first thing I would say is priorities. You're always
Yeah,
gonna have your priorities straight, and I feel like there are a lot of people out there, and like the audience that may be listening to this right now, they may be feeling like the tension too, and of like I don't know how to manage myself. I don't know how to manage like kids if they have kids with
yeah,
them right now, or I don't know how to manage my relationship and sort of things like that. And so yeah, man, I feel like priorities are so important, and just kind of having it kind of written down too. And bro,
yeah.
I love that you mentioned about like the calendar app.
I
It's
love it.
people take it for granted, eh? Like
Yeah,
people take little things like apps,
yeah.
like on their phones for granted. And so, bro, how much of a difference would you say has it made for you, man? Like in terms of having a calendar app for because you're carrying so much load. Like how much of
Yeah.
a difference has it made for you?
Oh, a lot, especially when like in obviously life. I think that it's quite easy to like on a Sunday. Usually I book clients in the week before, so I've got a kind of a basic schedule.
Yeah,
But like if I never, it's not prioritizing the stuff that you're gonna do. It's easy, but when you've got like pop up stuff, that's when you're like, all right. So
yeah,
because sometimes I'll have like being a trainer, sometimes you get a bit of a day gap where you kind of train, do your own thing. Like yesterday, for instance. I started work at 5:30 and I clocked off about 12. And then I had to go help with the Neverland movie. So I had to be at Meadowbank, which is like an hour from into 1. So when I got there, originally I had that open just to train. But then I kind of had that, like, that's when you have to look and be like, all right, I'm probably not going to train today. So I'm going to sacrifice that for today to go kind of help that. But like, it's what you prioritize kind of thing. But like, if I never had that written down and they asked me to come to the movie, I would have been like, oh, I probably can't. I've got something on, but I wouldn't know because I would
yeah.
just have that, like, nothing on there. But yeah, man, very underrated app.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's honestly like it's all about the simple things, eh? Like it's some of the simple things that a lot of people take for granted.
Yeah.
It's so simple, and then they kind of convert it to being as if it's easy.
Yeah. But balance is obviously important. Like I scheduling like family time.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
have to, bro.
yeah, especially like I find if I'm not actually like a very structured person, but I can be with this. So say if I have like, because sometimes being a trainer at the gym, like you're going to talk back and like you probably end up staying back at work. My partner hates it.
Yeah,
I'll stay back and chat to someone for half an hour. But if I put it in my calendar and be like, all right, from 8, I need to leave at 8 because I've got to be home by 8:30. Then it
yeah,
kind of makes me be like, if I'm not home by 8:30, it's like shit, like I broke my schedule.
yeah,
But yeah, balance is important, I guess, and that's what that prioritizing is.
yeah, 100%, man, 100%. But yeah, man, thank you so much for sharing that. I do believe that people are getting value from just like little things that you're sharing about your priorities and like how you're able to manage so many things, man. And so, bro, I guess at this point, bro, of the podcast, one thing I always believe in is before the glory, there's always a story. And I know that you've been listening to that all the time because I say it all the podcasts, and it's kind of
Yeah,
like the pattern or the model that I have. But yeah, man, like one thing I believe, man, is that like, yeah, as much as, we're talking about this earlier before the podcast had started, but like you were sharing to me, sometimes, oh, not sometimes, but you feel like as of now, like you're not really as successful, but you are, in
yeah,
terms of like, yeah, receiving and like, receiving those small wins and sort of things like that. And so, bro, like I see the like the tremendous impact that you're making, especially with the NDIS, the kids with that are
yeah,
that are within the disability field. Like I've been seeing so many things that you've been doing, bro, and like the content that you're putting up there, and so you are making it like a big impact. But one thing I believe in, man, there's always a story, bro. There is always a story behind yourself, and
yeah,
I want to get more into that, man. And so I guess to start it off, man, like the first thing I like to ask is your upbringing. Like I
yeah.
want to ask a bit about how you were growing up, man. And so if you're comfortable, bro, could you kind of
Yeah.
share a bit about your upbringing growing up?
Yeah, easy. I'll start pretty straightforward. I was actually born in Goulburn, so I was born in Goulburn Hospital,
Right.
and then I moved to Western Sydney, so I'll name it Bonnyrigg. Good old Bonnyrigg. Moved to Bonnyrigg when I was about 3 or 4. Lived with my parents, obviously. I was 3. I lived at partly at my nan's too. Like just kind of like went there a lot. I was quite actually a real skinny kid. Like I was like skinny. I started playing footy when I was 5, I played Mounties for about 10 years from there on. But between that, so when I was about, the biggest thing in my story would be like the biggest thing was, so when I was 10, my parents split. And it was kind of like a bit of a change when you go from having like parents together, all this stuff, and then your parents split and you're like, shit. And then you kind of get into that mindset of like kind of blaming yourself. So I didn't realize this till about a year or 2 years ago. I just thought it was like, I didn't really think much of it at the time, but it kind of formed a bit of independency for myself and kind of fending for yourself. And you've got, like, it's not that they weren't there. It's that they're like single parents have like, you got to support themselves, they're obviously going through like a midlife crisis. And then when you have the kids, so I was about 10, and then what happened was I lived with my mum for about 4 to 6 weeks in the main house. And then, that was like a bit of a shit house, I was going to say. It was good having mum there, but like obviously when your mum needs to go to work, like to support the family, like you can't really be like, Mum, can you stay home? So we were just like, me and my brother kind of fended for ourselves for a bit. We just had quick dinners, fish fingers and carrots. I can't eat fish fingers anymore because I had it for 6 weeks straight over that stuff. But yeah, so then that's kind of where my story actually started mainly because the divorce kind of led on to a bit of like an eating-based thing where, so when I was a skinnier kid, and then around year 5 and 6 when they split, I think food became an escape. So because my parents were that thing, my grandmother's house was right next to the school. And when you go to like your dad's bed. Exactly. I had my uncles living there at the time, and they were like 19, 20, like, what do you spend your money on? You get food and all that type of stuff. So I was coming home at like year 5 and 6, like smashing out like proper meals. Like I probably had Hungry Jacks like 5 days a week, fish and chips, every junk food. And when you have like your uncles buy for it, like it's not like, oh, I'm full. It's like, I'm going to eat this because they bought it for me. Like I'm going to eat this. And I'd be probably smashing like large Whoppers with an extra burger at like year 6. And like that impact on the weight. I think when I was 12, I would have been like, probably like 85 kilos. Not of muscle. So but I was still playing at the footy at the time. Thank God for footy. If I wasn't playing footy at the time, then I'd probably be a lot bigger. But I got footy, and then so when they split, kind of had me eating like pretty shit. And when you get into year 7, you obviously get the side of like you're the underdog, like you're the young guys. You got the judgment coming from everyone. You're known as the fat funny kid, and then that kind of led on to a bit more where my journey started in fitness. So I always played footy. My actual original goal, I spoke about this on my story, one of my pages the other day, was originally to make the NRL. But what happened is when I got so I signed with Shield 2 years ago. I found out my goal was not actually, because I never made the rep teams growing up like massively. Like I played older ages, but I could never crack the mats and the SG and all that type of stuff. I found my goals were a bit mixed up. So rather than thinking making the NRL, I just wanted a contract because that was the only thing. And as soon as I got that contract, it was like, yes, I've made it. And then that's when I dropped out of footy a year later. That's another thing in itself anyway. But back to the story. So, so I put on a bit of weight. Year 7 it actually sounds weird, but I was quite an introvert. Like I'm really to myself. And then I don't know if it's introvert or not confident. I don't think I was much confident. Year 8 comes and you obviously want to pick up some girls, in your grade. So I started kind of training at home on top of footy. And then I think year 9 hit. So I was at Cecil Hills at the time. And then I was like, I need to change my eating. And I went full on ball because I wanted to make the NRL. So I was like, I'm going to start training properly. I went full on ball training. So a big thing for me is like now I wake up for work at like 4 a.m. Actually 4:07. I've got a bit of OCD sometimes I wake up.
Bro, same as me, bro. I wake up at 4:57, bro.
And I just do 4:07. I don't know why, to be honest. But then so that's when I first. So I've been waking up since 4 a.m. since like year 9, and I didn't see it as like a positive habit. I just thought like I'll get up early. So I used to. I don't know, so I read a book. So it was the first ever book I actually read besides Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That was it's called Improvise, Adapt, Overcome. It's by an ex-Navy SEAL, got like kind of chomped up by a shark, and he lost an arm and leg, and it's his story, and pretty much teaches you to adapt to all the situations that put in your life. So I was like, all right, I read the book, and this book like had me like G'd up. This was like year 9, so I changed my eating. I went full strict. So I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I'd have a coffee shot to get me going for my sprint. So I do about an hour of sprints. And then I'd go to school and I'd have oats, go to school, have like a tuna and salad-based dish or chicken, rice, broccoli. And then I'd have a muesli bar at like 3 p.m. and then go to footy training at night or do weights. So I was kind of getting in. I was training twice a day, eating clean. Year 9, probably for like 6 months, I dropped like a fair bit of weight, probably like 10, 15 kilos.
Yeah.
And then I moved schools. I was like, I'm sick of this school. It's a shit school. Shout out to Cess. And then I moved to Fairfield Pats for footy. So that was kind of like my next step up. Like I've got fitter. I can go to this kind of sports-based school. And I went there, and then year 10, my training just hit a peak. Like I was like top fitness. That's the year I went to Cabra. I went to Cabra for a year. I was lucky enough to co-captain the side. And I got best and fairest that year, so I felt good. I was really confident. And I think after that, eating was like, it was very clean, but it was to the point where it was like, it was almost too clean, where it was like unhealthy, where it was like a bit of, I wouldn't call it an eating disorder, but like I was dropping weight and I was training it. It was, at the time, I just thought, footy, but I've turned my escape from overeating food to overtraining to compensate for what happened when I was a child with the parents splitting. Because if you don't know, when your parents split, it's more than just them separating. It's like the fights you see. It's like obviously no punch-ons and shit, but like it's the fights you see mentally, and like them fighting over like Christmas, whose house you at this weekend. And as much as like as a kid you don't realize it, but when you're older, like that shit was like pretty like messed up to see. It's not a massive trauma, but like it's a huge trauma. And I think you get a bit of a separation anxiety and all that type of stuff, and you can get attached to like other things, like you crave attention and stuff. And a big of it was the escape side, where I never had, like I was just always, I'm real independent. Like I'm the guy that goes and watches movies by himself and goes to the restaurant by himself. I don't really care. And that kind of that's one of the positive things. But obviously the negative side is like, at first you get a bit of like a distrust for people, because think like the people you idolize when you're a kid are your parents. So when you can't trust them to even be home or stay together, it's like, who am I supposed to trust? You know what I mean? And that kind of fed that stuff. But long story short, I lost a bit of weight, got into fitness, and then I think year 11, I fell in love with the weight side of training, bodybuilding and blah, like big shoulders, aesthetic, all that type of stuff. And then footy I didn't make the Harold Mats, and that killed me, especially I think because the year I got best and fairest was the year we tried for Harold Mats, and I didn't make it. And I was like, what? Like, how do you make and then there was players in there, like our team making it. I was like, bro, what is going on? But now I look back, like I was a crazy defensive player. Put anyone in front of me, I'll put them down. But running, like, you got to kind of be self-aware and honest with yourself. I was probably running like 4 times a game. I hate running. Running, actually one of the reasons I stopped playing, because I can't be bothered running anymore. I'd rather just do rower or do like weights or something. And so didn't make red teams there. And then when I was year 11, I played for Mounties. I went back to Mounties after Cabra, and then I played under 23s at 16 and a half. So I was turning 17 that year. So I played up for like 5 years, and that was probably like the peak performance-wise. I was running, tackling, everything. Did a bit of work with the development teams for like Mounties and trained with their boys, like older guys sometimes, which was a good learning thing, some of the Canberra guys there. And then the year after, I signed with Cabra for 2 years on Shield. Did the whole preseason, the hard part. And then I dropped out the week before the comp. I was like, I don't really want to do this. And in the time of that process, I was doing my PT course. And that feeds the PT business. So at first, I wanted to do plumbing, just quick and easy, get out of school, do that type of stuff. And then I went into plumbing work experience, and it made me realize I never want to do plumbing again in my life. No offense to all plumbers, but stuff it's too hard. And then PT, I tried to become a trainer when I was 16 because I was kind of into the weights. And then you have to be minimum age 17. So I did it straight out of school, and then the business started, all that type of stuff. And the biggest thing for me was to become a trainer for kids, because that's who I needed when I was younger. So like if I had me when I was 12 or 11, like I would know not to do what I think. Like I'm grateful for what's happened, because it's made me the person I am today. But at the same time, like I want to give value back to the people that I needed when I was younger. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy working with kids and all that stuff. That's a bit of my background. But yeah.
No, bro, that's amazing, bro. Bro, firstly, I want to say, man, thank you for being transparent. As much as you're an open book, and then like a guy that is always just like, that is always wanting to just kind of share a bit about you, man. Like, it takes great courage to open up about it. Even talking about your parents splitting up, going through that divorce, and you being affected by that, bro. And I guess my question to kind of counteract what you mentioned in terms of like your upbringing and stuff, bro. How did it actually feel, man? Like, how did it actually feel knowing that your parents had separated? Like, how much of an effect did it make on you?
I reckon, yeah, probably huge. Like, at the time, it's kind of a blur, but then when you look back at it, it's like, so like, I remember when we were like, so they split when I was about, I think it was 10. So 10 the year you turn 11. So I was like between there. And I remember when me and my brother used to joke around when we were like 8 and 9. I still remember this. I don't even know why. We used to joke around like, if the parents split, who are you going to go with? I'm going to get the PlayStation. And like, you make all these jokes, and then it happens. They tell you, they sit you down on the couch and they go through it. And you've got like your parents kind of like getting emotional, and you're like what the hell's going on? Like, what are you doing? And then you kind of go like, is it my fault? Like, what did I do? Am I being like, shit, I'm separating you? And you're like at the time you're freaking out. You're like, what? And then you kind of go into, it's not so much when that it happens. It's the after effect of, say, when you go to school.
Yeah.
And you do stuff like, bring your parents to the thing. Oh, I can bring my dad. Where's your mom? Oh, like, where's your mom? Where's your dad? All this type of stuff. Or like people at school who have their parents together. Funny story, I'll mention this too. This is why you should always be grateful for your parents being together. Because when I was in year 3, so they split when I was about year 4 or 5, one of those. And in year 3, I remember making a joke to a girl. Hopefully, if she listens, she remembers this. Apologies for this. I think I said something like her parents were split, and I said something as a joke, and I was like, haha, your parents are split. Like, that must suck. And I was like, and like mocking her. And then a year later, my parents split, and I was like, shit. And I still remember that moment. Apologies, and you might know who you are. And I still remember that moment. And then that's kind of what you get. Like, people ask, like, talking about their parents, what they did on the weekend. You're like, yeah, I went to my mum's house, because you always switch it between houses. Like, you always have that second bag just to switch between houses. I think, yeah, school has a big play, but the older you get, the kind of more you realize it, because like really like their relationship and that stuff happens. As a child, you don't really see it as that. You kind of just see it as like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What's going on? And all this type of stuff. But yeah, it was pretty emotional time. But yeah, and obviously I had a chain effect of like the eating side. Like eating is probably an escape thing for me. And emotional eating is a big thing. And like, honestly, if you're emotional eating, you should probably get like kind of see as like psychologist or something, because it's more than, it's your mental health kind of into it. And that's a big part. And I do get a bit of anxiety every now and then. And I think that's from the separation, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%, bro. And like, man, I'm so grateful that you're actually speaking about this, because there may be people like listening to this that may potentially be going through, what you've already gone through. And like, that's the reason why, bro, like I never take these things for granted. I never take, people sharing their stories for granted, because like, you never know, man. Like, you never know the impact that you can make just by sharing your story.
100%.
And bro, like, I'm grateful that you actually shared on this. And it's crazy that you mentioned about the fact that it's actually made a big impact, because where I work in a primary school, and I work with kids that are out of home care, kids that are living in housing commissions, like you name it. Like, they've gone through so many trauma, and it's cool. I love that you mentioned that, like, that your goal is always to be the person that you needed, when you were at that age. So when you're helping you, like, with the is it elasticity kids? Yeah. So when you're helping them, it's like in your mind, it's like, okay, like I'm actually going in because I'm wanting to be that person that I needed when I was their age. And I'm like, bro, I'm exactly the same. Like, I don't know how it feels to be in the out of home care. I don't know how it feels to be in a place where like being in an abusive family, and sort of things like that. But one thing I do know, and one thing I do resonate well, is not having a father. Not having a father around. So I can relate to people like that, and just kind of being that father model in their lives. And so, yeah, man, like I'm so grateful that you're sharing about this, because this is all about impact, you know.
Yeah,
We're
100%.
all about impact, and this can actually potentially help someone out there, man. And so, I love, bro, I love that you mentioned about eating disorder. Like you end up having some sort of like an eating disorder, and I love that you also shared that it's like you found the real reason as to why. Like
Yeah, yeah.
did you kind of find that? Like, did you want to share a bit about like what was the root behind it?
Yeah. So obviously the eating side was a bit of kind of an escape, I guess, from my emotions. And I only discovered this about probably like a year ago. So when I started working with kids, I was like, I'll do a bit of upskilling. I've finished this course, but so I did a diploma in child psychology, an online course, and that kind of like you'd be surprised how much stuff linked between to your like background, like and what you grew up, and that's why. So elasticity is like bouncing back. So bouncing back from kind of obstacles, and the whole purpose, like we're going to the daycares. We're also going to be starting a mini boot camp soon. And the whole purpose of that is so when you're 2 to 6, a lot of people don't know this, but when you're 2 to 6, it's your critical kind of
100%. Yeah, that's true.
Like stuff that happened to kids, like trauma, and that affect them later in life. And like my goal with that is from 2 to 6. So during our stuff, we do like a fun fitness session, dance, all this silly stuff, make kids laugh, have a good time, get the fitness in. And then we have a bit of a talk about like basic nutrition, like calories. I'll drop calories, protein, fat. So my plan with that is that, so when they're having fun, they're like, yes, this is fun. And then I mention a word like calories. So then fun is linked to calories. And together, when they're 10 years old and they're at school, primary school, and they're talking to their mate, and they hear the word calories, and it sticks to their brain to that fun moment they had as a kid that they don't actually remember, but their brain's thinking fun. So they listen into the teacher, and then obviously you go, all right, like they know now what calories are. So it's a chain effect in that kind of stuff. And then I only discovered my stuff doing that course, because there's some pretty messed up stuff in that course, how everything kind of links.
Yeah.
To everything. And obviously, like say you said, you obviously grew up without a kind of father figure, and that's made you probably a different man than you would be if you had a father.
Oh, 100%, bro. Like 100%, man. Like totally agree on what you're mentioning, bro. And I love that you mentioned about the 2 to 6 period, because that is a critical moment. Like if you're like, that's where your brain is actually starting to develop like more thoroughly. I was learning that at uni when I was there. And I was learning about that. And yeah, like people don't realize that your childhood stage is so important.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and even that, like I'm starting to learn too, whenever I'm talking to people or whether I'm actually getting people on the podcast, I love to get them to share a bit about their upbringing, because that's usually where the defining moment of their life actually started from. You know, you think about it like a tree, right? It's like everything stems from the root. And that's the same thing. That's the same thing when it comes to us as humans. Like everything stems back to your upbringing.
Yeah,
and
100%.
you know, I ended up doing a podcast yesterday, with one of the boys, and he ended up sharing that like he didn't realize, like he actually shared this on the podcast. He's like he actually didn't realize that his upbringing had a massive effect on his like life now. Like he just had that revelation.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, like I love what you're doing, bro. Like I love what you're doing. Like you're actually utilizing your story indirectly. Like you're not actually telling people your story, but you're utilizing your story as like kind of your backup to make choices in life.
Yeah, 100%. And I enjoy what I do with the kids stuff, and we're only just getting started, but it's like being a trainer is a lot different than working with kids. And I think like the kid side lets me bring out my inner kid. Like I'm a big kid, to be honest, but like obviously a PT will be a bit more professional. But when I work with kids, like you see a different side of me. Like I'm like those little characters you see on TV shows. Like, yeah, what's up? Like, let's do some star jumps. They're real hyped. Like I'm quite energetic as it is. But with kids, it's like a whole new level. And then I think that's why I've had like decent success with working with kids and coaching kids, and also with the disability sector, because there's a sense of like let's just have fun. Like don't worry about the complicated stuff. Let's just go straight into it, have some fun, and get a good workout in.
Yeah, legit, man. And like, bro, even like just adding to what you were saying, I love that you were saying that things like calories, having a calorie, and then having fun and linking that together. Like
Yeah.
people don't realize how subtle you can be, both like on a positive and a negative.
Yeah.
Like, I know that with some people when they think about, when they hear bangs, bro, I actually remember like one of my mates, like whenever he heard a bang, he always thought that it was a bomb.
Wow.
Any bang, he'll just like freak out. And I was like, oh, bro, what's going on? And then like, I didn't realize that he's actually got trauma from when he was in like Iraq.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, things like that.
Yeah,
and like, that was when he was a kid,
Yeah.
So like, that's the reason why like I never take people's stories for granted.
Yeah.
And I never actually, like, when people are talking about their life story, or even if they're upset and they're upset out of nowhere, like I don't know about you, but when you have clients that are just upset, or they don't want to train at all, just out of nowhere, you're like, what the heck, where did this come from? And usually what I'll do, and I do this all the time, even if like young kids always ask, like, what's going on at home? Like, is everything okay at home? But if it's not at home, it's like, okay, what's your background story? Like, what's happened growing up? Because usually there's like some sort of a barrier that they went through that, like, in terms 100%. Of a trauma.
And normally, like, especially with kids, I think like a lot of people look at what I do with kids and like, isn't it hard? Like, you've got to be patient. But to be honest, I always tell people this: just treat everyone the same. Like when you're talking to a kid, talk to them like you would talk to an adult, because the thing kids hate is when you talk to them like a kid and you look down on them. You look down on them, you tell them this, because that, that's what their parents do. But you're not their parent. You're kind of their coach, their guidance. And honestly, the best feeling. So we run obviously sports camps in the holidays with Motivate Sports. I do at MacArthur, and we run sports. These mad sports. These kids are so fun. But I think the best moments in that whole job or anything I do with kids is lunchtime or like a break. You get eye to eye with an 8-year-old, and you literally ask them, how are they? They'll tell you their whole life story. That's what they do. They'll tell you stuff, but you start to pick up certain things, and it's as simple as like a kid crying does not just cry. You get down on their level, you ask them, you understand them, kind of thing. I think a lot of people don't get that. You have to actually understand kids, because they're like, as much as we're adults, they're the same as us. Really, they're just smaller.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like I love that you shared that, like, specifically, because like that's the same thing that I do, man. Like I treat I treat these kids like as if they're kind of like one of the boys.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I probably wouldn't do is talk about the things that the boys would talk about, like that's probably the only thing. But in terms of like hang out with them, I'll hang out with them as if like they're one of mine. Like they're like real close, having that kind of family knit kind of culture around them. But yeah, man, like I love what you're doing, bro. I already know that you're a genuine guy. Like we only met once. That's a funny thing, bro.
Yeah, like actually when you were running.
Oh yeah, not too, bro.
running.
Oh man.
Oh, good
that was funny, bro. Yeah, I know. Good old days, bro. When COVID was actually a big thing. Nah, it's still a big thing.
That was my little training area, Smithfield.
Yeah, man. But other than that, man, like you're also talking about your footy. You're talking about having the dream of playing NRL, and I wanted to ask the question, bro. Like, what was the actual change? Because I know that you're mentioning about just wanting to, instead of becoming an NRL player, you end up just saying, I just want to get a contract. So what was that? What was the shift? What was the actual shift behind that?
I think growing up and you had everyone making these rep teams, and it was like shit, like I'm not making anything, like, and then it drove me more into the training side, and I want to make the NRL, have that NRL lifestyle where you're like, you make your money, you play, you get paid to play footy. That's not the greatest job ever. But then obviously I think it came to the point where the higher you get up in league, and it gets very competitive, because you're not playing for winning, you're not playing for that, it's you playing for your spot. And then having that, I think once I got signed to Cabro, it was like yes, I think a bit of comfortable side, where it was like, all right, and plus when you get out of school and you're balancing your studying, your training, and then your like your footy and your PT life, it gets tricky. Like at the moment, like I work nights, and like I work quite long hours. So like say 2 nights a week I'm at my boot camp, 2 nights I'm at the gym. So then kind of like, when do I train for footy? And like, I don't want to be that guy that rocks up on Sunday, plays a game, and then just kind of mucks around like that. But I think it was just the change and the competitive environment. So Sydney Shield is obviously opened, and you're going up against people that are like 24, 25, some ex-NRL boys there. Just I don't know why they're there, but and I think I just got my kind of head over heels about signing the contract. But if anything, if I stayed at Mounties another year, I reckon I would have went further. But I think I got it because Mounties were just offering another spot in 23s. So I still would have been 18 at the time playing 23s, which is still good. But then Cabra offered the Shield contract, and I was like, oh, because I did pre-season. Sounds funny. I did pre-season with Cabra in 2000. So when I was 16, I did the pre-season, and then they wanted me to play my age, and that's when I went over to Mounties. So like I kind of dogged them there. And then, to be honest, I shouldn't have. If I didn't leave Mounties, I reckon I still would have been playing to this day, to be honest.
Yeah. No, yeah, man. I was real curious, bro. I was real curious to know, like, what was actually the spark behind it. And, yeah, man, I guess, at the end of the day, like, if you had not made that change, you wouldn't be where you are now.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Doing your thing.
I tell people this. There's certain stuff you're grateful in life that obviously you don't want to happen, but it happened. Like, I didn't want my parents to split, but it happened. I'm here today. And then I wanted to make the NRL. I'm actually glad that I did not make the NRL because, to be honest, I feel like I'm happier now than I would ever be if I was in that position.
Yeah, I love that, man, because, and like, this is what I'm hearing. Like, what I'm hearing from you, bro, is it sounds to me that, you know, Kody is feeling very full and very fulfilled and happy about his life because he's doing the things that he loves. Yeah,
and then obviously, like, there's the hard work side and the long hours, but like I get to wake up and kind of impact people's lives, and I think it's just a feeling that's unreal. Like, obviously, some mornings when it's like 4 a.m. and the alarm goes off, it's like far out, go back to bed. But like at the same time, when you've got a 5:30 client there, and you're like, you know what, this person wants to grow their glutes, their booty, you're going to go make him grow their booty. Or like this guy wants to grow his chest, we're going to go smash his chest and get a good workout in. And but yeah, man, I guess I'm a bit more fulfilled these days.
Yeah, which is amazing, man, especially at the age of 19, bro. Like, only being 19 years of age and you're already feeling full. Because, like, the only reason why I state this, man, is because there's a lot of people out there that are doing the things that they hate and they're wanting to find fulfillment, not realizing that it'll probably be good for you to find something that you actually love and that you're passionate on doing. Yeah, and like you're a great example of that, bro. Like, everything that you're doing, and I'm starting to realize too, man, that all the businesses that you do are things that you're passionate in. Yeah,
well, exactly. Yeah, and I think I always tell people this. Excuse the language here. I've got a real like kind of fuck it, let's do it attitude. So like to be honest, if I find my PT business is like, and I'm getting bored and sick of it, I'll go and do the kids stuff more. I'll put more focus into that. Kind of taking time off stuff so you're grateful for what you do. Like, honestly, just before COVID, I was like, this PT stuff is draining, because it is. Like, you might work with 30, 40 clients a week and you're hearing different stories, you're hearing different problems. And like, as a trainer, you're half a problem solver. Even like, not just in training and nutrition and sleeping and eating, all that, but people tell you their problems that like obviously out of confidence, I can't speak about it, but there's problems that are bigger than them. But that all compacts into their training. If you're having a shit day at work, you're probably going to have a bit of a stress eat later. And and you got to, as a trainer, you got to kind of hear this stuff. And the biggest thing is, if there are any trainers watching this, I think the biggest thing is find someone for you to talk to too. Because when you hear all this stuff, it is confronting. And then if you hold that all bottled up, you explode, trust me. So I have someone I'm grateful for that I can speak to and kind of get this stuff off my chest. And obviously within the boundaries of confidentiality, I mean, I said the word. But yeah, so and I'll take time off PT sometimes and work a bit more with the kids, or every now and then I'll take time and work on the podcast. And it kind of like during the COVID break, so I was working long hours. I was like, you know what, I'm going to get not over it, but I was like, I was drained. I was burning out. I was working longer hours than ever. During the COVID, I went from 80 hours a week work to 4 hours a week. And I was like, come on, all that kind of stuff. And apologies for that.
All good, bro.
But yeah, so I went from long hours to no hours. And that kind of, all right, shit, like now what? And then about like 2 weeks in, I'm like, man, I wish I could be at the gym again training people. Like now I've been back from the gym, like I'm loving life. I love the 5:30 starts. Late night finishes I'm not the fan of because I'm used to like sleeping at 9 o'clock during COVID. Now I'm sometimes sleep at like 10:30, which is the best. But yeah, so like taking time away from what you do is like, it's not so much quitting, it's more of a break kind of thing. And that's why I enjoy the balancer side of things. And like right now, like I do podcasts and I haven't even posted anything in like 3 weeks. But I have 4 interviews built. So I've been interviewing people. I just haven't posted anything because the editing.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just enjoy what I love. And I don't know if you can, like I'm quite passionate about talking about it because it's like, I don't know what to say besides I love it.
Yeah, no, bro. Like I can see it, man. I can see it through you, bro. That you're really passionate in the things that you're doing because honestly, like your energy, the energy that you bring to everything that you do, bro. Like I know straight away, man. Like if you weren't passionate about it, bro, you wouldn't be as confident to speak about it.
Well,
like,
yeah, 100%.
You know, I know that, and like I think you can resonate with this as a PT and listening to people's issues. Like straight away when someone's not confident about their body, when they're not really wanting to kind of show themselves or real kind of confident in terms of their body. Like you can tell straight away. I know that you can relate to this. Like for me, I go to the gym and like I know straight away, and I'm not saying that like I'm perfect or I know the go, but I can tell straight away, like looking at someone that like they're either insecure or they're up themselves, they're real cocky. Like it's not that hard. Especially at the gym, man, it's not that hard, bro. It's like, all you need to do, bro, is like find someone that's looking at the mirror all the time.
And it's subtle things that like, like even if you look at yourself personally, like I'm big on like self-awareness and kind of looking at yourself and like being honest with yourself. And like, so when I was a kid, when I was a bigger kid, I noticed like all the photos in like family events, I was in like long pants, I was in long shirts, jumpers, because you try to hide that. And now as a trainer, I noticed like I think a lot of my clients know this, but the best feeling is obviously when your clients get results and they get results, and they might not have the visual side. I think as much as like they might lose 10 kilos, they might put on muscle, all this stuff, but I think the best thing I enjoy is gaining their confidence back. When you first meet them and they're at the gym and they're like trackies, they're in the little corner doing little squats and ab work, and then you get them into the gym and after like 6 weeks, they're on the leg press, just smashing that first 100 kilos, but they're in like tights and like a crop top, and it's like, but like it's they don't realize what they've done, and they've built their whole confidence, and it's not only visually showing, but you can see in the way they carry themselves. And I think like it actually right now I'm getting excited about clients next week. That's my first goal for everyone, get 100 kilos on the leg press. Because part of the reason it's called Journey 2 is everyone's obviously a different person, has different goals. So the Journey 2 is the name, and you kind of fill in the blank after that. So if your goal is weight loss, journey to weight loss and all that type of stuff. And then I enjoy focusing on the process. To be honest, it's going to sound bad, but I don't care if you lose 10 kilos. I don't care if you lose 5 kilos. I care that you're confident enough to come into the gym by yourself. You're confident out in the streets at work. You can walk around confident, have the good kind of like mental health where you can wake up in the morning and your worry is that you're going to like miss your worry is not that you're packing on an extra 5 kilos. A lot of people wake up, man, and their first thing they think in their head is like, I need to lose 5 kilos. You know what I mean? Like you wake up, you're brushing your teeth, you've got no shirt on, you're like, I need to lose 5 kilos. I'd rather someone brushing their teeth and be like, all right, I might need to brush harder, or like you know what I mean? Like take away from that kind of physical side, because as much as the end of the day we all die one day, and the body, you obviously want to be healthy, but a lot of it's up here, man, in the mentality side. And the stronger your mentality is, the better your body will naturally look.
That is so true, bro. That is so true, man. Like I totally agree on that, because for me, like, I train on a constant basis, and if it wasn't for my mental self and me doing my self-awareness and building that self-confidence in here and also in here, I wouldn't be where I'm at in terms of my, my training side, going out and just like not really giving a, like I don't really care, bro. Like I actually don't care when I go in, like whether I'm looking good or not. Like I don't care. And the only reason I don't care is because I know in here, like in my heart and in my head, I'm totally fine. Like, I'm totally cool. And it's funny, I always think about it like clothes, you know? It's like there's so many people out there, it's like they have this kind of clothing mentality where it's like, oh, I need to cover myself.
Yeah.
Like, I need to cover myself from certain things. And like, for me, I'm more of like the naked, you know? I know it sounds a bit weird, but like, I always think about the naked mentality. It's just like, bro, I'm just real. Like, I don't care what people think of me. I don't care, you know, what people say about me. Like, because at the end of the day, I am probably just as strong as I am now than what I was a few years ago. Even that, bro, a few months ago. and like, you have people out there, you know, being haters or, you know, running their mouth and sort of things like that. And so 100%, man, 100%, bro. I totally agree on that, man. And so, bro, I guess, like, just to add on to what you're saying, man, like, what's some of the things, because, you know, the people that are listening right now maybe like, I don't know, training or wanting to lose weight, and like for you being a PT, man, like what's one kind of tip that you love to share to everyone out there? I know you mentioned about Journey 2, but if there was someone listening to this, like really wanting to start making a change in their lives, like what's something that you can possibly say for them?
Two things I'd say. Like the easiest ones, make it very simple. Like you don't have to like honestly, you train well, you eat well, you sleep well. Like it's not easy. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but it's very simple. You don't need to be like buying like products like a herb scam. No, you don't need to buy like a lot of the products and like supplements, man. Like you don't need the supplements. You don't need to get the full decked out etched gear and all that kind of like muscle wear. Like honestly, if you're looking to start, go to Kmart, get some good shorts, shirt.
Yeah.
Join the gym. Honestly, my biggest recommendation is, I'm not like selling PT here, but speak to a trainer. It's what they're there for. Like, to be honest, you know what? There might be like a lot of shit trainers, but go on your social medias, look at who's the decent trainer, speak to people, speak to your friends that have trainers and find a decent trainer that you can work with. Like, to be honest, every trainer you're not going to be able to work with because it's all different, but you might, like I'm more of a kickback trainer, you know, you can kind of flexible eat, track your calories, whatever, train like well. I'm not going to be like, do 100 burpees if you eat a cheesecake, like stuff like that. Like find a trainer that's decent, keep it simple as very at first. And the second thing I'd say is keep it fun, man. Like if you're going into the gym and you're like, oh, I've got to do half an hour cardio, I've got to do 5 minutes of chest and all that type of stuff, you're going to burn out real quick. When like really go into the kind of gym, speak to a trainer what you can do, 5 minutes of cardio, smash it out, make it fun, do classes, anything to make you not feel like a chore.
Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%, man. And so I guess at this stage, bro, my next question to you, bro. Oh my god, what is going on? Give me a sec, bro. Give me a sec. I have no clue what just happened.
The video?
Yeah. Give me a sec,
bro. Pull it in your face.
I was like, yeah, I look cute, eh? Bro, this happened before, man. All right, we got it.
Easy.
All right, sweet, bro. Yeah, man. No, bro, actually, bro, thank you so much, bro. Thank you for sharing. On that, man, because I do believe that there are people out there that are listening, probably saying like, oh, you know, Kody, man, I know that you're a PT. Like, what can I do? You know, like, what's the best thing? And bro, I love that you mentioned about keeping it simple.
Yeah,
like just keep it simple, man. Keep it simple, but obviously it's not easy.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be easy. And so yeah, man, I actually love that you were sharing a bit about that, man. But the next thing I want to focus on, bro, is I do believe that, you know, before the glory there's always a story, but I want to try and get into the deeper side of yourself, bro. And I guess one thing I want to ask you, man, is in terms of a setback, like what's kind of the biggest setback that you've had in terms of the life that you've lived, you know, the 19 years of life that you've been living on this earth? Like what's probably the biggest setback that you've had in life?
If I'm going to be real honest, which I've come to accept in the last year or so as being a trainer, like the parents splitting is obviously one of the biggest, but a chain effect of that is you get this sense of like when you're a kid and your parents split, you get this sense of rejection. So this is the first time exclusive interview here. Spoke about it. So you get this sense of rejection and you get the fear of rejection. And you get the fear, like obviously your parents splitting is a bit like a rejection, like, oh, they rejected me as a kid. Like, it's obviously not, but that's kind of what you go through. And I think in high school, I developed more of like fear of rejection. Like, I'm probably like in year 7, I don't think I spoke to anyone. I spoke to like a few of the boys, and like, I wouldn't speak to girls, no way. And it was like more like if I speak to someone, they're going to reject me, and you get that fear of kind of judgment and all that. And that rejection went all the way to probably year 12, like went all the way there. And it was kind of like I hated being rejected. Like I would go home and like actually have like an emotional state, probably cry at home. I didn't even like keep it raw, man. Like I would go home and cry if I got rejected, not from like girls, but like just talking to people, and they would like kind of shrug you off your shoulder, and they'd be like, oh shit. And they take it personally when it's not that big of a deal really. But that fear of rejection was like probably one of my biggest fears I had to overcome. And I think I overcame that I started working in gyms as a sales assistant when I was 16 and a half. So just end of year 11, I started working in a gym. And I think that it actually sounds funny because like I hated being rejected. But then once I started working in the gym, like now I had to face my fear of people not signing up to the gym and getting rejected like 5 times a night. And that was like facing my fear of rejection, and it kind of given me the courage to be like, what's rejection? Like I'll get rejected, next move on, you kind of thing. And like as a trainer, you get rejected a lot. Like you might speak to someone, do a consult program, and then you kind of offer your services, and then it's like, no. And it's like, oh, like you can't do much about that. And I think that's probably my biggest thing, the kind of rejection side of things. And just like, it's like real hard to like explain it because it doesn't sound like a very complicated thing, but having that kind of feeling of you talking to someone and the back of your head is like, they're not going to like me. They're going to think this, like they're going to push me away, kind of like stuff like that. And same thing, it resonates in my childhood, man. Like and that fear of rejection was obviously overcome. That's why I think facing your fears is the biggest thing. Like, bro, if you're scared of heights, go jump out of a plane, bro. Like, back to my mentality, fuck it, bro. Why not? If you're scared of cockroaches, bro, go pick up a cockroach, go a room full of cockroaches, man. Like, fear is the thing that's in your head that you don't actually realize was created by yourself. Like, my fear of rejection was created because I thought my parents didn't love me. So that's kind of a chain effect and be like, shit. And like, really, I think that's the biggest reason why in the business world I've had a bit of a kind of success in growing like my platform and myself too, is that like I'm actually proud to say that I don't think I'm scared of anything. And I think that takes a step of like, bro, if I'll go to the shop now and I'll go approach anyone and talk to them about their life if they wanted to. Like I don't have that fear of rejection. And when you lose all fear, like when you become that fearless mentality, it actually like, this sounds like a generic like motivation saying, but you become like beast mode because like you have no fear. Like what are you scared about? You got nothing to fear. Obviously there is risks in that where like last year, what I do, I jumped out of a plane. I've got shark diving booked in a couple of months actually. Like that type of stuff, but like obviously it can kill you. Don't be too fearless. Be like, jump out of plane without a parachute. I'd be scared of that. But like, man, like I have no fear of communication. Like I was quite a shy kid. And now I can go around and talk to anyone. Like this podcast will probably go on for 4 hours if I keep talking. And like the fear, I just think being fearless is like such a big thing. And yeah, like that's probably the biggest thing I've had to overcome. And like if you look at it, that like such a fear and such a bad thing has actually overcoming that has made me like more positive and kind of like it's actually had a massive impact. And it was just that kind of switch of mindset and like overcoming it in that sense. But yeah, man, that's probably my biggest overcome so far. I still got 81 years to go. But yeah.
No, bro, it's so good, man. It's so good that you shared about rejection because, like you could have said something differently, eh? Like you could have, said, oh, you know what? Like because my parents had split up, like I really struggled with. Not having like both my parents, but your one specifically was focused on rejection and feeling rejected. And even that, like that wasn't the truth, that wasn't the truth at the end. Like the truth wasn't that you were rejected, but that was the story that you believed when you were growing up.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what fear is created by your mind, and what's kind of your like environment. And obviously when your parents split in that, like, when you cop it at school, like you get the boys joking, like, oh, your mum doesn't love you. But like at the time, it's like, yeah, funny. But you go home and you're like, does my mum love me?
Yeah, 100%, bro.
And obviously, like, she loves me. Hopefully, mum, if you want
Yeah.
to love me. But yeah, and that type of stuff, like you get that mad kind of fear of rejection. And rejection's actually a big thing. It's not so much the rejection itself, it's how you take it. I'll take rejection as like, all right, this person doesn't like me, like, and then that's when the anxiety kicks in. You're like, oh shit, what's going on? But then if you look at it the way, like, all right, they've rejected me, like, no, they don't know who I am, they don't know me, they don't know my story. So why should I really care about their kind of judgment and all that stuff? But yeah, judgment's a big thing too.
Yeah, man. Bro, I'm actually grateful that you're sharing this, man, because like I'm getting value from what you're saying, especially about rejection. Like, there are people out there that can't handle rejection, man. Like, at all. Like, even, bro, if I had to be real, man, I reckon there's like people out there that haven't dealt with being rejected from, like, you know, going out there and wanting to ask a girl out.
Yeah.
You know, they already feel like they're gonna get rejected in the first place. It's like, bro, can I be real with you, man? Like, at the end of the day, you're gonna get rejected either, like, you know, either way, man. In life, like, there's always gonna be moments where people are gonna say no. You know, like, one thing I love to do is like, one thing I do is like the podcast, right? When I'm asking people to jump on, right? Like, I'm gonna be truly transparent. I'm always keen to hear no's. Yeah, I'm keen. Like, and funny enough, I've only had 2 no's out of this whole time, so everyone's actually said yes, and I'm blessed, right? Yeah. And it's funny, they either say yes or they don't say anything. Oh, bro. And so, yeah, man, like, I always love hearing no's. Like, when I hear someone say no, then I'm like, thank you. Like, thank you. It's funny when you change the word thank you to being like, oh, man, what the heck?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think like, even my podcast, 5 Minutes With, like, to smash out 12 interviews in one day, I messaged a lot of people, friends, family. I ended up messaging you on the podcast, one of the first ones to jump on. And like, bro, I messaged like 50 people. Some people were like, yes, no. No's were more like they're not comfortable with telling their story, or they're not ready. They want to do it in 2 years. But like, you've got a story to up to now, so why not share it now? That's a big
100%, bro. 100%,
and another
man.
thing is like I go bigger beyond. Like, I've messaged like Gary V. I've messaged Roger. I go big or go home. Like, if this guy opens my DM and comes on, like he might come, but like most of them don't reply. I remember messaging one guy, and this actually drove me more than ever. I messaged him and he said something like, get 10,000 followers first and then I'll jump on your podcast. And I was like, all right, what a dick. Like, all right, sorry, Mr. Big Shot. So then, like, my thing was that. I was like, you know what, stuff this guy. I'm going to go ask someone else. And that day, I think I picked up like 10 interviews and I smashed them out within the week. And that one no drove me to get all those people. And like, now in the back of my head, I spoke to this on my last podcast with Just Hustle, and I was like, you know what, like, this guy, he doesn't want now, but if I do get 10,000 followers, maybe he might ask me, and I'll be like, you know what, bro? Sorry, man. You lost your shot.
Bro, bro, like, that is so on point, man. I think there are people out there that are just waiting for you to succeed, then to jump on. But then again, like, I'm always curious to know, like, I feel like some of them, it's more of a test. It's like, it's more of a test to see how much, because like, for me too, like, bro, I always think to myself, I'm not going to ask certain people because, like, number one, like, I don't feel like, I don't even feel like I'm ready yet to talk to you in terms of the conversations that I want to have. Like, I want to kind of build myself up. And like, at the moment now, bro, like, I feel like I can interview anyone, you know, like that would like love to jump on. Funny enough, bro, I ended up seeing a message yesterday, bro. There's a guy in Queensland that is wanting to jump on. And I was like, first of all, I was like, oh, I don't know who the heck you are. Like, I need to know a bit about who you are before getting you on, man. Like, one thing I don't like doing, bro, is just getting strangers on here. Yeah. Like, that's probably like a value that I have in me, is that I don't want to have strangers on here. I actually want to know a bit about who you are. Yeah. I don't care what you do, to be honest, bro. Like, whoever you are out there, it's like, I want to focus on the who. Like, who are you? Exactly, like, if you got rid of all your, you know, I don't know what you do, but like, whatever you're doing in life, like, I don't know, if you're a motivational speaker, if you're not getting that taken away, if you're a PT and you're not getting that taken away, who are you without it? That's the person that I want to know. Yeah. Like, I want to know your name. I don't want to know what you do.
Yeah, 100%. Because everyone kind of, like, you can be anything. I could be like really, to be honest, I could drop out of PT tomorrow and become like, I could go back to KFC, working back at KFC, and I'd still be the same person I am today. It'd just be a different profession.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that's so important, bro. That is so important. People take that for granted, man. Like, people take that for granted so much because they say like, oh, I'm gonna jump into, let's say, PT, and then they end up pursuing that, but not realizing that like they're utilizing their PT as like as part of their identity. So it's like, oh, I can't leave the profession, even though like I'm not passionate in it. I can't leave it because that's where my identity is. Like that's where everyone knows me. Everyone knows me as Mrs. PT or Mr. PT.
Yeah, exactly.
But like when I get taken away, it's like, okay, who are you?
And I think
I feel like,
I think COVID for me personally tested that because I was known as like, people call me Coach Kody now. I hate it. I don't name that. I go out and I get to the gym and like, Coach Kody. It's like, but like during, like before COVID, I was like, that was my whole life, PTing, working long hours. And then like after like PT drops, the gym's closed. It's like, who am I? I'm like, not a bum, but like I'm at home. I was at my house probably like one day a week before when I was working. I was staying at my partner's. I was kind of going around. And then I'm at my house 6 days a week. Like I'm seeing my actual family at home. And that was kind of like a bit of a humbling moment for me. Like kind of like, bro, sit your ass down. Like I practically lost my job. I didn't lose my business, but I lost my contract to the gym because if the gym's not open, I can't train people here. I've got to be like, bro, like now I'm not a personal trainer. Now I'm a job keeper. And that kind of, like I did a lot of self-development throughout COVID, and it's had actually a really good positive effect, not only personally, but on my business, on the outcome of it. And I always tell you, like, as much as we went into lockdown, man, like, it's the perspective you take, bro. Like, if you see it as, like, a lockdown, like, if you look at it as a lockdown, then you're like, shit. But if you see it as, like, this is, like, self-development, like, if you don't, but, like, this is a time to do shit that, like, you've never done. There's, like, a lot of people that have worked on their side hustles during COVID and now have come out as, like, business owners, like, selling, like, grazing boxes. These little grazing platters are, like, crazy everywhere now because during COVID, everyone was at home practicing eating and practicing boxes, and now they've made an actual business out of it. And, like, that's the kind of way you got to kind of look at stuff, and I think that's, like, a big thing in, like, business or life, the mentality you take in perspective. But, yeah, man.
No, bro, I love it, man. I love that. Yeah, it's cool, bro, because you actually executed well during the COVID. Like instead of you being like, oh, it's time for me to relax, it's like, no, it's actually time for me to reflect. It's time for me to reflect and realize, okay, what is it that I need to do in my life? Like, I know straight away, man, that there is a lot of people out there that end up doing like a career switch during this COVID.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I've heard many people say, "Oh, I'm no longer working here. I'm wanting to do, this thing." And I was like, "What the heck? Like, this is crazy." And it's funny because I think the last time this happened was at the recession, which is in 2008. There was a 2008 recession where people started to shift in terms of jobs and sort of things like that, man. And so, yeah, man, like, good on you, bro. Good on you, like actually choosing, making the choice to push onto that, man. And I guess, bro, like just to kind of link back to your setbacks of being rejected and sort of things like that, man. Like what's kind of the motivator for you, bro? What's the motivator for you, like when it comes to other people? There may be someone in here listening to this that may be feeling rejected. I don't know. They might be asking, someone out and they get rejected, or they're wanting to get a new job because they want to get a job keeper or job seeker, or they want to move jobs and then they end up getting rejected, man. Like what's something that you could possibly share based on your own experience on rejection?
Honestly, fearless is the biggest thing, and having that mentality of like at the end of the day, just you've probably said this 3 times, like, fuck it, do it. There's nothing really like it's, especially like being a young business owner, there's a lot of pressure on you, especially having a bit of success. There's a lot of pressure on you to do more and do this and do that. And if you're slacking in your business, like podcasts, like I haven't posted for 3 weeks and I had a few messages like, when's your next episode? Like, just to give you a bit of like kind of outlook, like I have Isaac John Builder, Roger Fabry, and Blood Juice TV, which is like all kind of big social media following, if you know who those people are.
Yeah.
And those being built up is like people going, oh, when's this podcast out, man? And I go like, bro, like, and I've got other stuff to do. And I think being fearless and not being afraid of that step over the leap. Like a lot of people don't know this too. Another part of my story was when I became a trainer, I went to some different gyms and tried some different places. For actually 3 months, I balanced 5 jobs at one time, which was like intense. And that kind of burnt me out. And I think it was that I had the business going. I had 4 jobs as an employee, and it was that step of taking that further kind of thing of like, all right, if I jump out of these jobs and go into PT, like I'm not going to be making enough money to do this, to do that.
Yeah.
It was that fear side of that. But one day I remember I was sitting at home with my partner and I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to quit next week.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I have this mentality where if you're not eating, you're going to be fucking hungry. So when you haven't eaten, you're going to be hungry. So you've lost these jobs. You've lost maybe like $1,500 in like money a week. And you're like, bro, what do I do now? And you're like, all right, I've got this PT business. What do I do? I've got to adapt. I've got to eat. So you get more hungry and you kind of grow that type of stuff. And it was that fearless leap of taking it from an employee to kind of my own business and running that stuff. Even the podcast, without COVID, it would have been started first of all. First week into thing, I actually, like this podcast itself has inspired me to do a podcast because I had this one, I had a few of the boys ones, Truth Be Told, Just Hustle, and I was like, and I remember listening to one of them for an hour and a half, and I was like, bro, this is the longest podcast ever. And like now I actually listen to hour and a half ones when I drive. And I was like, let's just start at 5 minutes with. And I was like, oh, but like there's a lot of hard work. Like, how are you going to film it? I got to get Zoom. I got to get a Zoom account. Got to get a microphone, a camera. And I remember in my head I said, fuck it.
Yeah, yeah.
And literally like an hour later, I was messaging people. I had 5 minutes with her. I was like messaging people. I think I would have contacted a fair bit of people, eh? Had my first guest in within like a couple of hours, which was Georgia. And then I had like day after day after day. And it was just like effort. And even the kids stuff, I only started in January this year. And it was more like I've actually always wanted to start my own kids business. But it was like, do I have time for it? And then I was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that. Like honestly, if you follow my socials, like you'll probably see a lot of like random shit that I do. Like even next week, I'm doing a talk with Mountain High School about like kind of young business and like showing them that university is not the only way. And I got asked through Facebook through a private message of one of their English studies teachers, and I was like, what? Like talk in front of schools and shit? And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I think that's probably the biggest advice I'd give to anyone. Like whatever you're doing in life now, like if you're afraid of that leap, honestly, just do it. Like at the end of the day, we live in Australia, in a country that like we should kind of be grateful for what we have. Like we're actually very lucky. People don't realize this, but if you lose your job, you get an income still. You can still eat. Like homelessness is obviously an issue, but it's a bit of a choice at sometimes too, because we have support networks in Australia. Like we're a proper developed country that has this, obviously a pandemic, but like we're in a pandemic now that people, like they reckon 1.5 million people have lost their jobs, but people are still getting $750 a week. Like you're not really suffering in that sense. Like there's obviously the other side of sufferings, but financially you're stable probably enough to start that side hustle. Like, I don't know, if you love boxes, create a company that makes boxes, bro.
Yeah.
Like something, just create. Like if you're going to constantly consume for the rest of your life, I feel like, and you consume and you're going to feed yourself this stuff, like, bro, like straight out, like to be honest, I'm if next week I was like, say if I was eating a nice schnitzel and I was like, bro, this schnitzel's nice, but it could use this, I would probably just try next week and be like, fuck it, let's try to start a schnitzel brand. Yeah. And it's that kind of stuff where like, bro, there's no chance, I have no knowledge of schnitzels, but you're not going to know until you try, I guess. But yeah, that's a big thing. Just do it, bro. Yeah,
just do it, man. It sounds like a Nike brand.
Yeah. Speaking about Nike, you got the brand ambassadors there. But yeah.
Nah, man, 100%, bro. And like, at the end of the day, man, like everyone, you're always gonna get rejected anyway. Yeah. Like, even, bro, I remember, man. Like, if I had to be real, bro, I remember, man, when I was, when I was growing up, and one of the things I would love to do is like I wanted to play the PS2. All right, back in the days, PS2. I know there's some kids out there being like, what the heck is that? Bro, I remember, man, and I guess the biggest fear was like going up to my mum and asking her, like, can I play? Like, I was dropping my balls, bro. Like, I was so scared, man. And I was like, oh, man, all right, so I'm just going to ask her. And, bro, just the feeling of asking her and her saying, like, oh, well, the first thing she would say to me is, like, oh, like, have you cleaned up? All right? Like, have you cleaned up your room? So that we're like, yeah. And then she's like, all right, you can go. I was like, oh, my gosh, bro. Like, the sense of relief that you would get from even, like, asking. But then again, just kind of copying the no. Like, once they said no, it's like, oh, freak. Like you'd probably get upset. Like I know, like you get upset, but at the end of the day, man, like it is what it is, bro. That's life, man. You're gonna get rejected anyways, and
100%.
As you mentioned, bro, it's pretty much how you deal with it. Like what is it that you do? And for you, bro, you shared about the way that you dealt with it, which was like eating, you know, just having an eating disorder, and even that, just finding a way to be accepted. Even in like in school and so things like that, bro. And so, yeah, man, bro, I'm actually proud to see where you are now, man, from the person that you were before. I have no clue the person that you were before, bro, growing up, bro. But I'm just grateful, man, to have that relationship with you, bro. And I guess just to kind of wrap it up, man, I wanna talk a bit about, bro, what's the next step for good old Kody? Like, what's the next step, bro? Because I already know that you have certain things in your hands now. You've got, you know, elasticity kids. You're working with you know, kids that are suffering of like mental illness and not mental illness, like disability. And you're also a PT and sort of things like that, man. So what's the next step for you, bro?
Man, like at the moment, like PT, I'll go through in the podcast, man, is just the kind of podcast is like my hobby. I just talk to people, post it up, like let people hear their side of the stories. The PT side, I'm actually in the process of hiring instructors to do like mobile work for me, so I don't have to actually be at the locations. So I hit about like 50 or 60 sessions a week at the gym, and then like it's a certain times that people want and I'm not available. So I'm in the contracting a few guys out these ways just to run kind of like PT sessions for me through my business. The kid stuff, man, like COVID's been a bit of a hit with it because you a lot of parents obviously with kids and COVID. But man, if like this COVID didn't happen, my plan is to be in like a lot of childcares over like Australia, speaking at public schools and kind of changing the youth of today, so the future adults in the world in Australia know what simple stuff like calories are and all that type of stuff. They're the main stuff for like business wise. My long-term goal is like completely different. Like when I'm like 30, 40, I'm just going to open a restaurant and like, you know, chill back with that. But yeah, kind of chill with the restaurant and all that type of stuff. And then I'm working on a movie at the moment with some artists, the Neverland movie, and we're just working out that. And yeah, we had our final day of shooting yesterday, so we're just working towards that. But man, like honestly, I tell people this, like I'm 19, like I'm young, like I know I'm young, and I don't think you're old until you're like 70, bro. So
yeah, bro.
Like for the next, honestly, until I'm like I don't really have those goals that most people have, like get a house, pay more, like get a car, nice car, get it. Like, man, I want to have a family. I want to have obviously kids and all that stuff and have a house and somewhere safe. But like, man, I'm on cruise control till I'm 30. Like I have no clue what's going to happen in the next 11 years because 25, I could drop out of PT and become like a monk. You know what I mean? Like this, like it sounds like, but there's a lot of shit that happens. Like I think people underestimate what you can do in like a year. And like, there's so much stuff that can happen. Like tomorrow I could be driving and like, man, I could see a sign and be like, I love that sign. I could buy that sign and start selling off that sign. You know what I mean? Like simple stuff like that. Like, honestly, I have no major plans. Like I'm not a vision board type of person, which a lot of people are. Like they like to see that vision, man. Like I obviously have like a small kind of term goals, like, you know, hit a certain amount of sessions or all this stuff. And I think create an impact. And it's perfect for this show because I believe like impacting is like a chain effect where you impact one person's life, that person goes to impact another, and it's so on. Like it's just like just make an impact until I die and shit.
No, 100%, bro. 100%, man. 100% on that, man. Like it's all like when it comes to impact, bro, it is a chain reaction. And funny enough, like you're the example of that, bro.
Yeah.
Because yeah, man, bro, did you want to share quickly, man? Like while we have the time, on like what made you come onto like listening onto the like what was the process of you actually listening to the podcast?
Oh man, like, bro, I think self-development's huge, and there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I give credit to you, man, and I give credit to this podcast because there's a lot of guests on this podcast that are like you're not having like a lot of the people on these podcasts are people that you kind of see around the area. I call this the area podcast, and the only male podcast. But there's like a lot of these guys, man, like that you see kind of at the gym, you see around, and you kind of know from Instagram and all this type of stuff. But you know their Instagrams, you know their Facebooks, but you don't know them as a person. And I think hearing that backstory of like a lot of the people on this podcast, like I think my first one I listened to, besides the little solo ones, would have been I think it was Matthew Vidal. I think it was Matthew Vidal, and one of my mates actually trains him, and I never really knew who he was. And then I listened to the story, I was like, shit. Then I listened to Josh Cars, and then I kind of listened to a lot of them, and really like they might be an hour to 2 hours long, but like that's like 3 mornings if you're driving in the car, and it kind of plays in the background, and it's not so much about everything like I say, everything you say on the show isn't important, but you could be like driving and you're tuning just in the right moment, and it says like imagine you driving in this podcast, like listening to this, and all you hear is like, fuck it, do it.
Yeah.
And then you go to work and you quit your job and you're starting a business the next day. Like that kind of thing is a little nuggets. And I think this podcast has a bit more potential than others because you're getting people that a lot of people know and a lot of people look up to you and idolize, and you're investigating their stories, man. It's not just about like them talking. You didn't get me on here to talk about how much clients are trained. What do you do? How do you get the chef? You're going here to hear my backstory. That like, to be honest,
bro.
I don't go around like telling people that stuff because like no one asks, but you are, and that's what one of the big reasons I do listen to the show, because I get value out of it. I get little nuggets. That's what I call them, little value nuggets, and I actually hear the story of the people that I see on my social media that come up in suggested following and come up in sponsored ads, and I think that's probably the biggest reason I tune in. But yeah, and I love supporting the boys.
Nah, bro, honestly, man, I'm so grateful, bro. Like the real like as to why I wanted to get you on, bro, is because I know that you've been impacted by this, bro. I'm not saying that you've been impacted massively, but I know that like plain and simple, bro, you've been impacted, and I'm like, man, I want to get this guy on. I want to get this guy on to hear his story. Just like everyone else, man. I'm going to treat you, bro, the same way that I treat, one of the guys that like, have like a big following. Like I don't really care about the followings. What I care about is the impact, it's like actually getting people to impact.
Yeah, well done. You've done it.
I know, bro. Hey, bro. But the cool thing is, bro, you're one of many, which is mad. Yeah. You're going to be the one of many who are going to be impacted. They're going to jump on. They're going to share their story. And, man, I'm grateful, bro. Like, I'm grateful to have you on here, man. So I guess, bro, just before we clear things up, man, the one thing I love to do, bro, is I love to get the special guests to share a bit of encouragement for those that are listening on there. There may be people going through what you've gone through, or they might be going through a place of, feeling rejected and certain things like that, man. And so, bro, if you have the chance, man, what's one thing that you could possibly share to those out there listening?
Well, if I have to give you a short sentence, man, I've said this many times during the podcast, but I think you know what's coming. Bro, be fearless and fuck it. Just do it, bro.
I knew it, bro. I knew it, man. I knew you were going to say that, bro. But guys, you heard it here first. You heard it here first of many, many times. That's pretty much his encouragement, guys. Like, I'm on the same bandwagon. Like, if I had to be real, like I know that there are people out there that are wanting to do things like what we're doing in terms of running podcasts and sort of things like that. Honestly, just get on board. Like, you're never going to know. Just stuff it. I'm not going to say the word, but I'm just going to say stuff it. Stuff it. Just do it. But honestly, get it done. Get it done. But other than that, that is all that we got for this podcast session. Bro, Kody, man, thank you so much for tuning in, bro. Thank you so much for jumping on, man. But I guess, bro, what's the best way that people can connect with you?
Instagram, Coach Kody or Journey 2. Facebook is also Coach Kody or Kody Duncan. LinkedIn if you want my professional account, Kody Duncan. Tinder, I'm joking, not on Tinder. Not on Tinder. But yeah, Coach Kody is the best way, man. And honestly, if you're going through anything tough, anything mentally, physically, let me know. I'm not all about the training, so I'm more having a chat. And if you've got any like kind of businesses now, I'm a big supporter of that stuff. So just hit me up. I'm not going to charge you. And yeah, if you need support or anyone out there wants to speak out, have a chat, and yeah. Have a good day.
Yeah, sweet. So for those that are watching this on YouTube, it'll be down in the links down below. All his handles to his links will be down in the description down below. But if you're listening to this through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just jump on our Instagram and go into the followings. He'll be on the following section, and that's where you can kind of connect with him, and that will be cool. But other than that, guys, that is all that we got for this session. Bro, thank you so much again for jumping on. Thank you so much, bro. Hope you have a good day too.
Thanks for having me, man.
Nah, it's all good. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys in the next one.